Hey everybody, it's me, Bryson Booker, and it's time for a BBTV cartoon episode review just for you and you and you. And before I get into this animated cartoon episode review, I want to say that this review is sponsored by Grandma's Cookies. They taste like everything but. Now, on with the show. I'm going to review one of the first episode, the first episode, basically, of Animaniacs, which premiered September 13th, 1993 on Fox Kids. Animaniacs fan, if you ask any animation fan in general about Animaniacs, they'll tell you that the best episodes were made between 1993 and 1994. The same period of time the show was in continuous rotation on Fox Kids. It was great, and the first episode really is the beginning of that greatness. So basically, I'm going to review De-zanitized because the Monkey Song and Nighty Toons are a part of the episode, but, you know, the meat and potatoes, let's put it like that. The meat and potatoes of the episode is really De-zanitized, as well as the opening credits, because you really know a little bit of the background story of the Warner Brothers anyway. But De-zanitized is basically we meet Dr. Scratch and Sniff, the psychiatrist who tries to keep the Animaniacs sane. We meet him for the very first time, and he's basically talking to another psychiatrist about his experience with the Warner Brothers and their Warner sister. And so, basically, this is kind of a big flashback for him. And as like a little secret joke, we find out how Dr. Scratch and Sniff got bald, basically, as kind of like a side thing. But the main part is, you know, we're introduced to the Warner Brothers and the Warner sister, as well as the Warner Brothers love interest, Hello Nurse. Housley makes her first big appearance in this show, and they really they really let that part linger, I guess you could say, because it seems like for a chunk of a scene, that's all that Wacko and Yakko are concerned about, is seeing Hello Nurse and having fantasies about Hello Nurse. But obviously we see her for the first time, and we basically, in this episode, you know, we find out the personalities of the Animaniacs as a group and by themselves. And I like how they did that, because, you know, all three characters weren't on the same screen all of the time. Most of the time they were, but you got to see them by themselves as they're being interviewed by Dr. Scratch and Sniff, as he's trying, you know, discover their thoughts and their feelings. We get to hear Yakko's thoughts and feelings, which is basically wordplay. We get to hear Wacko's thoughts and feelings, which are basically no thoughts or feelings at all. And we get to see, you know, Dot's reaction to things as Dr. Scratch and Sniff is asking her questions. And so you get to see all three of them as a group acting crazy. And you also get to see the root of their craziness individually, basically. And that's a good thing, because you really get to discover the character's personality. And it's really only the first episode. You know, the Animaniacs don't really have a huge personality, but it's enough to where you can understand, you know, what they're trying to do and the goals that they're trying to accomplish, which is basically to drive people nuts. And to be fun. And they don't really think that they're driving anybody nuts, but truthfully they are. And they never drive me nuts, I'm telling you. For the past, I don't know how many years, they have never drove me nuts. I still love them to this day, still watch them to this day. And really, it's a great episode. You know, a lot of times in many series' first episodes, sometimes they really make it obvious to you, aka pilot. They make it really obvious to you in TV shows. Cartoons, however, are kind of placed on this balance beam, and the episode that was really meant to be the pilot either never gets shown or is all of a sudden thrown in to somewhere later on down the line, when the creators, I guess, are feeling lazy and just throw the pilot as one of the episodes. And a lot of shows have done this. Dexter's Lab, Johnny Bravo, Cow and Chicken, The Simpsons, in some circumstances. Shows have done it before, and they really don't mean any harm by it, but when the episode, or when the cartoon series actually premieres, it's like you're kind of getting thrown into a pool, and then you're kind of forced to swim a little bit. Because, well, you're coming into an environment where you really don't know the characters or their intentions, and over, the course of certain episodes, then you discover who they really are, and their personalities, and their environment, and the people they interact with. Whereas Animaniacs basically gives all of that to you in one 7 or 10 minute, I can't remember how long it was, I think it was like 7 or 10 minute episode. That's amazing, because basically you can say to an individual who has never heard of this show, hey, basically just watch episode 1 and you'll understand the whole series. Whereas with some cartoons, it's like, well, the pilot is actually in episode 25 or episode 47, and it's kind of confusing, and then the first episode is about them battling their enemy, and it's like you don't even know the enemy background. You really don't know a lot of stuff about anything. You're just thrown into the series. Animaniacs, was a show, at least the first episode of it, that gradually introduced you to everybody, and the first episode really does that well. Another example of a cartoon that did this well with its first episode is, some people are probably already thinking of it, Futurama. The first episode of Futurama is a pretty good episode that introduces you to everything. Why the heck Fry got trapped in that frozen chamber, and what was he doing before he even went to the future. It builds up, and it's that important episode that really fuels the whole series. And so De-zanitized from Animaniacs does that, and it does it well, because even though, I'm going to say this too, some first episodes of cartoons, they really don't get, I guess you could say, legendary like they would later on down in their lifespans as far as episode. On the first episode, it's kind of dull. It seems kind of dull for some reason. But later down the line, obviously the cartoon gets better. But the first episode for some series kind of seems, sorry about that, kind of seems a little dull. Animaniacs, puts their foot in everything that they do in the first episode. And that really fuels you and inspires you greatly to watch the rest of the series, because man, they set the bar high with De-zanitized. It's like I'm really wondering what they could do during the next episode and the next episode. Your anticipation for the rest of the series is really starting to build, because they basically set the bar really high on the first episode, and that's a great thing. And that's what made Animaniacs a great show while it was on the air. I can compare it to, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, I can compare it to the first episode of Tiny Toon Adventures, and that kind of seemed dull, but this one definitely set the bar high for the future. And I have to say, my favorite part in the whole episode is the most cheesiest part, but I just love it to this day, and I'll leave you with it. My favorite part in the episode is just simply this.
I think it's time we got down to business, yeah?
Now, our first quarter figures are really low, as there's a business graph will hopefully show.
What are you doing?
We're getting down. to business.